Silver has been on a tear recently. We've seen silver outperforming gold, and investors are wondering, can this relationship continue? One of the ways we can measure this is looking at what's called the gold to silver ratio. That's the price of one gold ounce compared to the price of one silver ounce. If we take a look at this bottom graph here with the orange line, we can see that this is a relationship of gold to silver. When this line's rising, that means that gold is outperforming and doing better than silver. When it's falling, that means that silver is doing better than gold. Now, if we take a look back from 1985, we can see on average, approximately gold has been 60 times more expensive than silver. Now, we go back longer on a historical basis, that number is actually much smaller. But today we want to concern ourselves with this high level that we've reached of gold to silver. If we take a look since 1985, there's only been 3 times where gold has been 100 times more expensive than silver. The first was in 1990, the second was in COVID, and the third one is right now in 2025. And investors are saying, look, this number's become very telling, and we can expect perhaps silver to actually perform better than gold based upon what we've seen in the past. Now, the first instance, what we saw was going into 1990, we saw silver, the blue line here, underperforming. That's why this ratio went up. So gold was outperforming because silver was performing poorly. And then once we got to this level here, and this was a lot to do with, at the time, the macroeconomic conditions, high interest rates, concern of stagflation taking place. And then we saw that straighten out. And once that straightened out, we saw silver outperform for quite a while. The second time was during COVID. Now, gold had outperformed silver for quite some time after the great financial crisis. And what we saw was this large spike where investors really questioned at the time about the monetary system. We saw the monetary system becoming very close to freezing up. Then we saw the central banks dump a lot of money into the system to free it up a little bit. But in that time, gold to silver, that ratio went to 120. But let's take a look here. I want to take a look at this blue line here to show you when it straightened out. So here we can see gold performing well. Silver coming into that time with COVID really was fairly flat. So this was mainly the result of gold performing well, this increasing ratio here that was taking place. But once that situation was solved with the liquidity situation, we saw that ratio turn down here. So silver started to outperform gold. Now, it's not that gold didn't perform well. Gold actually was fairly flat after that. But look at this big, huge uptick for the price of silver because it becomes so undervalued. Perhaps that's where we're at today, where we're seeing that spike up over 100. It's pulled back a little bit from there. We're seeing gold perform well here, and we're also seeing this blue line tucked in behind that white line there. Silver actually performed even better. We don't know if the same thing's going to happen, where we're going to see that sudden big huge burst of silver on an absolute basis. But there is starting to be an attraction more towards silver because it has become so undervalued relative to gold. It is possible, based upon what we've seen in the past over the last few decades, that this ratio will normalize. Now, I want to say that the central banks have been the main cause for gold outperforming silver and creating this situation where gold has become 100 times more expensive than silver. Central banks have not, well, maybe there's some exceptions, but in general have not been buying silver, they've been buying gold. And right now, investors are saying, well, silver is the poor man's gold, and it's become so cheap that perhaps it's actually better value. So yes, we can see silver actually perform well, even better from these levels.